Okay, so I'm just gonna start this. This is a brand new series that I want to do. I've been thinking about doing this type of thing for a while. I read in Make It Stick that you tend to remember things much better if as the memory is being solidified, it's a struggle. It's very difficult. And I find one of the most difficult things for me is to actually watch my replays. I find them to be incredibly cringeworthy. I hate watching myself do absolutely ridiculous things. So the series is going to be called Learn to Win. If you are GM level, so top 200 and above, there's probably 600 of you. This is probably not for you, unless you want to watch me just really hate myself, in which case, I'm here. Feel free to peruse at your leisure, but if you're my level or below, so I'm probably like top 99th percentile or whatever, like 99.1 or 99.9, roughly that area. So if you're pretty much anyone else aside from one of the best players to play StarCraft 2, you might be able to learn from my approach here. So my dream for this series is that maybe a couple times a month, I'll go through like one game or two like shorter games and look at all my mistakes. Each of these games, like this is gonna be one game because it's a longer game. We're gonna times 2 our way through it, and I'm gonna be discussing like what I might have been thinking at the time or what I should have done. I've actually watched this game, so recently I've been trying to catalog my build, or like the build orders of people I play against. Not like trying to figure out what individual players are doing, but like decision making trees on like what I'm trying to scout for, what type of build orders there are, what I can find out, what I don't know. Now that my mechanics are back up to where they should be, I'm trying to figure out, sort of fill in the holes in my play. And one of the big things for me is that I don't know what I'm looking at a lot of the time. I'm playing on feel, and I'm playing on what I know I should be doing, and not so much reacting. So, it keeps it kind of interesting that I don't, aside from the time I played this game, I don't actually know what I did. All I know is what my opponent did. And I've watched this a couple times because this is an incredibly frustrating game for me. I played this guy 3 times in a ladder session where I went like 14-3. And he's the only person I lost to, and I lost to him 3 times. And this game in particular is incredibly frustrating because I felt like I was in a winning position. So I think we're going to go through it. I'm going to times 2 it. I want these to be very consumable, very in just one like short session. You could, watch in like 10-15 minutes, me break down this replay for analysis, and maybe even if you are better than me, get something out of it. I will, unlike a lot of other videos, like I usually answer in the comments and stuff, but I will make a concerted effort to answer any constructive criticism or questions or whatever in the comments. So let's see where we get here. Okay, good luck. I think this is okay. So this is times 2. Right now, like recently, I've been favoring 1-1 expand. So I might slow it down if there's a particular thing I want to talk about, or be free to pause it. Obviously, it's my content, my choice. Yeah. So we're going gas barracks. I think my opponent here did actually barracks gas, but I think they're quite similar. I think they both kind of come to the same point. Is that times 4? That's times 2. Okay. Feels very fast, doesn't it? I'm actually notorious for not watching my replays. I really hate, like, I'll watch other people's replays, but I really hate watching my own replays here. There's not much to say about an opener like this. This is just 1-1 FE. We've been doing this build for like what, 3 years now. It's a relatively safe opener. It prepares you for a lot of different types of aggression, namely Tier X Reaper, and then allows you to also expand quite easily and apply pressure if you want to. So there's actually, you're gonna see in this game where I make a decision and my opponent decides to cut a corner and I end up taking advantage of it. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember exactly how it goes. You can see my worker production slips here. This is why like I really hate, again, I hate watching my own replays. Like how is it, how do you miss hitting the S key? You know, it's easy. You're supposed to be doing it all the time. It's not hard. So you see I'm going 3 Reaper to Hellion here, and my opponent, if you've been watching the production tab, has actually been cutting the corner where he only goes 2 Reaper and a Hellion instead of 3 Reaper 2 Hellion. And so you see that when I run into him in the middle of the map here, all of his units are gonna die. He's going Reaper Tech Lab, or sorry, Reactor Tech Lab instead. There's a very cheeky modification you can make if your opponent, if you see that your opponent's doing 1-1 FE as well, right? Then you can try and cut that corner. Here I run into the Cyclone, but he's a little afraid here that maybe I've got more coming in the tank. But I'm, of course, I just have these units here. And so far, so good. Obviously, my position is superior here. I have the same things. I've killed the worker, delayed his expo. His expo is literally lifted. I'm feeling pretty good. And you're going to see my work account get, like, quite far ahead here. It's not, yeah, the downtime in TVT can be pretty substantial, I feel, as everyone just gets their stuff together. So you can see that, I'm going Raven and he's going Banshee. I find that Banshees are not very good. But then they always kill my workers. So, like, I don't know why I feel like they're not very good. They tend to do a lot of damage to me. And he builds 2 of them here. Spoiler alert, I watch this from his end. I go for a very safe opener. I watched TY do this opener. He goes 2 Cyclone. Okay, I take a very brief intermission because the OBS preview window was doing something that the game wasn't doing. But it's just the OBS preview window being silly, so don't worry about that. Everything's nice and smooth. My double gas timing, I think, is later than it should be. I always have a hard time deciding when to take my double gas when I do TVTs. I think specifically I have a problem with this particular build order because I saw the 2 Cyclone opener in a game and I never had the replays, so I didn't know how the actual flow of stuff works. You can see I'm floating a ton of minerals right now too. Like this is awful. I can't believe that he ran his Cyclones in there. But I suppose he was surprised that I pulled my entire army to fight that. A pretty decent decision, I think, by me to just chase after it when I saw that he didn't have anything else coming. So I guess it is pretty active. Maybe we won't times 2. I didn't really want to do like a 25-minute episode, but so he's about to basically even up the score a little bit here because if you look at the workers, like he's down a lot. He was down, I think, by almost 10 workers, which at this phase in the game is pretty catastrophic. He's gonna manage to get enough damage done here. I horribly miscontrolled my army here. I should have 1 set of units down by the natural and 1 set of units in the main as well. One thing that's important, I think, when I'm looking at replays for the specific purpose of trying to understand my own thought process is not to take the camera off, because I want to see exactly how badly I play this. I remember doing this and just being super pissed because the tanks turned around there when the second depot was still open and closing. And so now when I go to move out my whole army, the tanks are stuck behind these engine bays and they have to go all the way around again. Now I was like, you can see me closing the depots, like I'm confused, like how could this possibly have happened? So one very obvious criticism here, I think anyone who's even semi-decent at the game is gonna levy me, is that I have like 1 Marine on the map at the moment. I have very little like going on in the sense of map control, and that's probably gonna net me a loss if it's a better player than this guy is, and he's already taking control of the map as well. I don't know about his third timing. I'm making assumptions here. Yeah, everything on the production tab looks pretty even. Upgrades are pretty close. I do not have combat shields, which is a staple of my stream. In fact, I don't even have stim right now, which is just disastrous. I think I remember actually saying that mid-game too. I remember being like, holy crap, I don't have stim or combat shields. Like, that's super late. I think I know I did say that. Maybe for future episodes I'll actually splice in me telling me I should have stim combat shields at this time, because I should. Do I not have the 5 barracks already? I should, right? I think I'm just getting them now. Right. Okay. So I thought I had a 4th. Never mind. I was about to say like, oh, I have a 4th on the way, and then these are my 8 barracks, but no, that's not correct. Okay. So now I go 4th. I think this phase is like quite well timed, and I am out macroing. Like, I'm out macroing my opponent, quite substantially here, and I think we'll just fast forward a bit because TVT is kind of like that. Sometimes you get 2 players who are very passive. And in this case, I think we're both a little afraid. Like, I know I was a little bit concerned that I was going to be attacked, so I was playing very passive. I think he felt like the damage I did early was quite substantial, just because of how much it delayed his ability to produce and whatnot. So I can imagine that we're both in the same rather timid state of mind, and I should probably change that, because one of the things you notice about really good Terrans is that when they're in their worst positions, when they're in their most vulnerable, is when you see them attacking the most, because their units do very well in smaller engagements. I suppose in TVT it feels a little bit different because your opponent is also using Terran units, so their units are also good in small skirmishes, so it feels a little redundant, but you should really be dropping when you're behind. But I'm not really behind. I actually feel like I'm okay being passive here because I'm ahead. So if I just get more ahead, I get more CCs, and then I attack him and take good positions. I should have more units. We're finally caught up here. My upgrades are a bit ahead, which is good. Everything looks good. This isn't really the phase in the game that was super frustrating for me. Preparing with a 5th base, a little early for, like, I don't think I have to do a 5th base this fast. Getting my turrets, like, I'm really prepping for the early phase. One thing that really screws me, I think, here is that I forget that these Ravens and Vikings exist, which is quite bad. I end up needing them really, like, quite a bit. I think once you hit around 200 supply, like, it's a debate whether or not I think you should make turrets earlier or later, but I know for sure that once you hit 200, you should put like 8 turrets in the main. Like, I feel like that's something that I see a lot of good Terran players do. Not just, like, obviously not just myself, but I see a lot of good Terrans who are like Kodas level, they do it too. Now you have the money, and the thing is, you can have 6,000, like, you can have a huge, massive bank. But if your opponent doom drops you and gets into the main base with like 8 medevacs, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you can't make anything anymore. So you're pretty much all in no matter what you were doing before. So having a ludicrous number of turrets when you are maxed out makes sense, because the worst thing that can happen to you is your opponent pulls off a move where, you know, nothing you do matters anymore at all, and you just die. So everything looks good. We got our extra barracks on the way. I feel like I'm taking a pretty solid position here. I don't know what I'm running into, so I should always scan ahead, and I'm not even looking. Supply is still favoring me a little bit. I don't think, no, I haven't started 3-3, so he's actually going to get a jump on me with 3-3. I remember being surprised because I knew my upgrades were ahead earlier in the game. So again, if you look at this position, right, like, imagine if I'm almost positive here, if I had the Vikings and the Ravens, I insta-win this game. And looking back at it now, it's incredibly frustrating to me that I am even watching this game as if I lost it, because I have 2 Ravens with full energy, and like 6 Vikings chilling by the main, and I just realized it when I hit Q there, I think. So I'm trying to do like the good Terran thing. I'm gonna attack on 2 flanks at once, but I could have just won the air fight there and slowly walked into his 3rd base, but I was just like, I didn't know I had those units. It's just one of those things. So of course he is doing exactly the same thing because he's pretty good and he wants to. He has this spot defended, and so he's trying to take advantage of the fact that I'm no longer You know, that I'm stuck there, and so he's trying to do something to harass me as well. At this point, you're in a really, really tricky situation here, right? I'm in a position at the top side of the map where if I try to, like, unsiege and run, he's gonna kill me with Marines, and if I stay there, he's gonna kill me with Liberators. So what I'm trying to do is buy as much time as possible and get the second half of my army into position. But I can already see the flaws. I'm gonna just pause and talk about it for a second. So you can see that I don't have any sensor tower on the bottom side of the map. So every single time I'm caught out of position, he's going to immediately position himself very well where I can't like anticipate his moves, and I can't counter him either because I don't know where he is. He could be, let's say I want to defend my current 5th, so down at the bottom side of the map. Actually, I can take my cursor here because I don't want to break the camera perspective. So let's say I'm down here in the bottom left, right? And I don't know if he's up at the top trying to doom drop me, or if he's trying to position on that base. Like, I know nothing about either side. So sensor towers, our whole goal is to eliminate the area where of uncertainty. It's not necessarily about what you know, because no one wants to walk into sensor tower range. Like, I don't want to walk in where there's a sensor tower, because then you see me, right? I want to like navigate through them. I don't want to be in the Venn diagram. I want to go through or around or whatever. I don't want to be there. Everywhere that there's a Venn diagram, okay? Everywhere there's a sensor tower, I know that it's safe to... I know that area isn't somewhere I have to worry about, generally speaking. Most people won't go through them unless they're, like, very, very, very committed or very sure that you're not there at all. So this is good. I deny his base. He has a lot of money. Obviously, I can't know that. I'm quite broke, at least in the minerals. And I'm trying to take his Rich Vespine base. Which is pretty ballsy, but I think you split this map either all along the left or all along the right. It's tough to take the left base and then also take the right base, because then you open yourself up quite a bit. I've really been enjoying playing like this, like just dual army style. You see it a lot in TVZ, and it doesn't happen that much in TVT, but I've been trying to make it work in this matchup as well. But now I gotta come back and defend, because I know that he has the air superiority and just a ton of units here. Not much to do. Obviously, I see he's going for a lot of air units, so I'm also now going for air units. There's like two ways to approach it. Going for a lot of air units, like I just found the Viking Raven. That's just terrible. There's like two ways to approach it. You can go all like Marine tank pretty much and hope that you catch your opponent's army off guard, because if they have a ton of Viking and Liberator, that means that their ground army is crap. It's way worse than yours, because they have a ton of air units that can't do any damage. Or you can try to compete in the air, which is what I'm gonna do here. I realize his economy is too good and he has too much production for me to just catch him off guard, so I know I have to eventually play a more legitimate game. Obviously, I have the Ravens here, so his units just die. This fight goes my way, and I knew it was going to go my way too. I'm getting air upgrades, +1 and +1. Yeah, and then this fight obviously goes extremely well for me. He drops down to 30 supply less. Now, he has a lot of banks, so he's going to replenish quite quickly. I think in hindsight, I probably should have just attacked him here. I gave him room, and I think trying to seal the deal might have been a better plan. Like, you see me walking up here, but I think I drop a scan and then I just turn around because I'm afraid. I need to save more scans, too. Because I still have no idea what's up there. And you can see me flicking back to my command centers. Like, I desperately want to know. It might have been worth it to sack a medevac in this position as well. Well, actually, in the future, I think if I'm desperate to find out, even sacking a Marine. This is things that you see now, but you don't see in game. Like, I can win that air fight. I can win this game here. I can just out-siege him. And slowly just, like, apply pressure till he cracks. I'm low on the tank count too. I'm not even building tanks though. I'm maxed. I think at this point, I probably want to drop 3-4 command centers. I'm not doing that either. I got one on the way. And I want to start sort of transitioning to a little bit more mech-focused army. I think Marines are really good, but eventually you probably want to switch out. So here, I think is not my first. I made many mistakes this game, but I think this is the part where this game sort of stops being anything winnable. And I start to crack here. Like, I don't know why I did this. And in hindsight, this is just terrible. I'm walking, and like, I don't actually know how many tanks he has. And I'm trying to surround an army that, yeah, it just ends up, like, obliterating me on both fronts. That was actually significantly smaller than my army was. So if we go through that again. Right? So I'm up by 20 army supply here. I have everything here. For all intents and purposes, I think I should easily have won this. And I still don't understand it, kind of. But like, okay, now that I've looked at it again, this makes perfect sense. So I got stuck on the ramp attacking the air units. I needed to be stutter stepping towards the ground army, because this has completely evened this game out. In fact, because of the composition that remains of my army, he's actually going to be able to win the game off this push. It takes a little bit longer because I have a PF there. So it's a little bit harder for him to win than just like show up, but yeah, the fact that he has so many siege tanks, he's gonna kill this base. It's just I think it's just a matter of time now. And I try to do things like distract him with the Liberator just to get, like, to take the pressure off me. In the supplies, it looks really even, but I just have way less than he does somehow. It just feels that way anyway. But again, like, we see here that, oh, and here's another brilliant move brought to you by my brain, where I got desperate, right? Like I saw the writing on the wall kind of deal, and I wanted to make something happen to try and force him into a bad position, and ended up just killing all my units instead. It's just truly genius. Now I catch him out of position here, right? He has nothing here to defend this base. But the interesting thing about late game is that this is now a 400 mineral loss. Like, it's not really going to make him lose an amount of mining time that's going to change the game, really. The fact of the matter remains that his army is ridiculous compared to mine right now. It looks way bigger. It's way stronger. He's got 2/2 upgrades for the air on the way. And yeah, I'm like using the wrong spells. I should have used Seeker Missile there, and I didn't. I think I barely win it though. Just barely, because I still have 1-1. No, I have 2-2 on air versus 1-1. So I am gonna win that, but my army is just too pitiful. Because he's earning way more money than I am right now. Okay. So for me here, I'm thinking about trying to make some more money and trying to keep him off my bases, because I have to delay right now. I know I gotta buy time. I know the supplies are probably very much in favor of him. And I see him. And so now I'm gonna try and catch him out of position here. And I do kind of succeed in doing that. Yeah, this ends up being a pretty good trade for me. And from this position, in my head, I think it's closer than it is. But he has a lot of tanks. So he has a lot of positional power. And I think I just really robbed him of a lot of money, but yeah, you can see that it's really not as much as I'd hope. I think in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have taken that fight. I should be playing the game here where I try and retain as many units as possible. One thing that I like to do is, like, if he sieges my PF, which was naturally the next step for him, then the tanks will want to auto fire on the PF. Yeah, so then he tries to take this, which looks like a pretty easy to break position, because it's only 3 tanks. And it just doesn't go the way I want. At all. His tanks are very strong. Yeah, and he just ends up obliterating me anyway. I should have gotten more of an arc. Like if I come from the if I sent them units around and come from the bottom side as well, it might even be possible, but the tanks end up making it pretty hard to, or the CCs end up making it pretty hard to engage as well. And then now I have no units, no tanks, and he has a lot of tanks here. He's applying a lot of pressure. And I can't break him. I can't break him. I want to attack into this. I see that he doesn't have a lot of Marines. So I'm trying to go for this cutting maneuver again, trying to get in between, because now he doesn't have a sensor tower either, but there's nothing I can do. Yeah, he has way too many units. Ton of Marines. I'm wrong about my assumption about him having no Marines. And it's roughly around here that I'm probably coming to terms with the reality of the situation. He doesn't even have tank upgrades. I just noticed that. Oh, he does. He has 3. Oh, fuck. It's because it's red. I was like, man, I have more of the blue upgrades. Yeah, now we're just completely caught out of position. Yeah. He played this really well. I think a couple of these engagements, namely the one where I tried to go for the full surround. That just goes to show it. TVT is such a positional game. Like you can't walk into bad positions ever. I'll just fast forward through this because this is embarrassing. This is the scene from Queen's Gambit where the janitor tells Beth to resign and she throws a hissy fit. Like I'm throwing a hissy fit right now. Obviously, it's not like a BM hissy fit. I'm throwing it at myself. I can't quite believe the state of the game. Kind of hoping for a miracle, but yeah, I have a lot of Marines. So like in this particular case, like what I'm hoping for, because I see the composition, I see that I have like 70 billion Marines. I'm hoping I just catch him royally out of position. And then so there's this fight here. I maintain that if I go back into this fight, again, and I don't misclick, like I'll go back one step. We'll get back to it. So you'll see what happens here is actually kind of disgusting. I really think I'm not going to win this game either way because he has all of the economy, but see, I go in for the stim, but this siege makes a full wall. And so my units turned around because I was A-clicking past this army. And I think chat had the same consensus. Had I taken 3 stutter steps forward instead of back before like my brain realized that my units were going the wrong way, we probably could have taken out like half this army. So this fight would have looked much different, because we got quite deep on the army. All the Marines died pretty much, so there's a really good chance that we may have been able to survive that fight. But looking at the state of this game, yeah, like he's up a CC, 2 extra orbitals here, and yeah, he's got tons of SCVs to spare still, pretty much all around the map, and I'm, you know, on one base. And this is like a horribly undersaturated base. Another thing I should touch on, I noticed this in the middle of the game too. How many workers are actually here? Like 12 or something? This is horrible. It's terrible. Anyway, that's episode 1. I'm not even going to watch this back. I'm going to cut this up. I'm going to put it on the internet. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Feel free to subscribe. I hope that you get something out of me talking about my games and how I'm throwing them or not. I'm gonna do this a couple times, and if it is received well, then I will keep going, and if it's not, then I will not. I may do it anyway just because I'm gonna end up doing it for myself, and so I might as well record it. But if you enjoy, yeah, give it a like, you know, and subscribe, whatever they tell you to do on YouTube. All right, good luck.